Look closely at your life. The conversations repeat. The reactions are predictable. The outcomes feel scripted, because they are. Every morning, you wake up and play a character you've been rehearsing for years. Not consciously, automatically. Your tone, posture, choices, fears, and limits follow a role written by past experiences and reinforced by habit. This is not personality, it's programming. Your mind runs narratives the way a film runs scenes. When a situation appears, your character responds exactly as written. Same emotions, same excuses, same results. And because the script feels familiar, you mistake it for identity. But identity is editable. Most people try to change outcomes by forcing new actions. That fails. You can't escape a role by improvising one scene. The character always snaps back to form. Real change happens when the character itself is rewritten. Overnight change isn't mystical, it's mechanical. When the internal script updates, behavior follows automatically. Voice, confidence, decisions, and boundaries reorganize without effort. The world responds differently because it's responding to a different role. This audiobook will show you how to locate the invisible script running your life. You'll learn how to identify the lines you repeat under pressure, the beliefs that define your range of action, and the emotional cues that keep the character stable. Then, you'll learn how to replace them, not with affirmations, not with wishful thinking, but with deliberate narrative shifts that the brain accepts as real. Once the script changes, the character changes. Once the character changes, the story cannot stay the same. You don't need years of self-work. You need a new role. The moment you stop asking, "Why am I like this?" and start asking, "Who am I playing?" the rewrite begins. And when the character changes, reality follows the new script. Chapter 1. The Ghost Light. You are standing center stage in a massive auditorium. The house lights are down and the seats are empty. The heavy velvet curtain has fallen. There is only one source of illumination. It is a single bare bulb glowing on a stand in the middle of the black void. In the theater tradition, this is called the ghost light. It keeps the actors from falling off the edge of the stage when the show is over. But for you, the show never ended. You are still wearing the costume. You are still reciting the lines of a tragedy you did not write. You have been practicing method acting with such intensity that you forgot you were playing a role. Method acting requires the performer to use their own memories and sensory experiences to create a believable psychology. You have done this too well. You took your past failures and turned them into a character that you play every single day. You wake up and put on the mask of the anxious person, or the angry person, or the defeated person. You think this character is you. It is not. It is just a performance that went on for too long. In the glow of the ghost light, you can finally see the edges of the stage. You can see where the script ends and your actual agency begins. If your personality is a performance, then it can be changed. If your reactions are rehearsed, then they can be rewritten. You are about to walk off this stage and burn the script. Chapter 2. The Table Read. The ghost light has done its work. It kept the stage safe through the dark night of the soul. Now morning breaks. The theater doors unlock. The cast arrives. This is the moment before the costumes and the makeup. This is the moment before the lights and the applause. This is the table read. In the professional world of theater, The table read is a vulnerable dissecting room. The actors sit in a circle under harsh fluorescent lights. They open the script to page 1. They read aloud. There is no acting yet. There is only the text. We listen for the rhythm. We listen for the false notes. We listen for the truth.
To rewrite your character overnight, you must first endure the table read of your current life. You must sit down in the cold light of rationality and look at the script you have been performing for years. Most of us never do this. We simply walk out onto the stage of our day and recite the lines we memorized in childhood. We react to stress with the same angry monologue we learned from our fathers. We retreat from intimacy with the same defensive blocking we learned from our first heartbreak. We are unconscious actors repeating a play we did not write. But today, you are the director. You are sitting at the head of the table. You are holding the script of your life in your hands. It is time to read the lines exactly as they are written. Listen to the dialogue you speak internally. When you make a mistake, do you say, "I am such an idiot"? When you look in the mirror, do you say, "I look old and tired"? These are lines in a script. They are not objective reality. They are not biological imperatives. They are simply words printed on the page of your mind, reinforced by years of repetition. In the practice of method acting, we talk about subtext. The text is what the character says. The subtext is what the character actually means. A character might say, "I am fine," but the subtext is, "I am terrified and I need help." Look at your script. Look at the scene where you procrastinate on your work. The text says, "I am lazy." But what is the subtext? Perhaps the subtext is, "I am afraid of failure, so I will not even try." Method acting requires you to hunt down this motivation. You cannot change the performance until you understand why you are making these choices. You are not possessed by external forces. You are not fighting a mystical destiny. You are simply an actor who has misunderstood the scene. The beauty of the table read is that it is not the performance. It is a working session. Nothing is set in stone yet. If a line does not work, we cut it. If a scene drags, we shorten it. If the motivation is unclear, we clarify it. This is where the secular magic happens. It is the magic of neuroplasticity disguised as editorial discretion. You look at the line where you apologize for taking up space. You take your red pen and you strike it out. You write a new line. Instead of saying, "I am sorry to bother you," you write the line, "I have a contribution to make." You look at the tragedy of your past. You cannot erase the scenes that have already happened. The ink is dry on those pages. But you can change how your character interprets them in the next act. The victim becomes the survivor. The survivor becomes the hero. The script is fluid in your hands. This process requires a ruthless sort of honesty. You must be willing to hear how flat your excuses sound when read aloud. You must be willing to admit that the drama you create is often just a way to keep the spotlight on your pain. The table read is not about judgment. It is about clarity. It is about seeing the mechanics of your own personality. When you realize that your personality is a construct, you gain the power to deconstruct it. You see that your anxiety is a rehearsed reaction. Your shyness is a costume. Your anger is a prop. You have spent a lifetime memorizing a tragedy, but there is nothing stopping you from flipping the page and starting a comedy. There is nothing stopping you from writing an adventure.
The actors are waiting. The script is open. The red pen is in your hand. You have identified the bad lines and the weak motivations. You have seen the character you were, and you have decided on the character you will become. The table read is concluding. The chairs are being pushed back. It is time to move from the table to the floor. It is time to put these new words into your body. If you wish to continue this rehearsal and master the art of self-direction, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. We are turning the page to the next chapter together. The rehearsal is just beginning.
Tree, Chapter 3. Escaping the Typecast. Read is finished, and the flaws in the story are exposed. You have seen the repetitive loops in dialogue and the predictable tragedies in the second act. Logic dictates that you simply throw out the pages and start fresh. Yet, when you walk out the door tomorrow morning, you will likely slip right back into the same old performance. This is not a failure of will. It is the trap of the typecast. In the industry of cinema, a typecast actor is one who is hired to play the same role over and over again because they simply look the part. They have the face of a villain or the smile of a naive romantic lead. The casting directors stop seeing the range of the human being and only see the utility of the caricature. You are currently suffering from this exact phenomenon in your daily life. The audience around you, which includes your family and your colleagues and even your oldest friends, has grown comfortable with the character you have played for the last decade. They expect the anxious complainer. They rely on the passive observer. They anticipate the angry victim. The moment you try to improvise a new line or stand with a different posture, the audience will feel uncomfortable. They will not applaud your growth. They will ask you what is wrong. They will try to hand you back the old script because your predictability makes them feel safe. Breaking out of this box requires more than just a desire to change. It requires the discipline of the method. Method acting is often misunderstood as merely staying in character between takes. In truth, it is a rigorous psychological demolition. The method actor does not pretend to be angry. He locates the sensory memory of rage within his own nervous system and brings it to the surface. He does not act, he becomes. To rewrite your character overnight, you must stop viewing your personality as a fixed statue and start viewing it as a collection of choices that have calcified into habits. You are not naturally shy. You have simply rehearsed the role of the invisible person so many times that you have memorized the body language of retreat. You are not naturally chaotic. You have just mastered the blocking of a disaster. Escaping the typecast demands that you approach your life with the obsession of a lead actor preparing for an Oscar-winning performance. You must change the physical constitution of the vessel. Think of how a great performer changes their walk and their vocal cadence to inhabit a new soul. You must do the same. If the new character is confident, then you must study the physiology of confidence. How does that character breathe? Where do they hold tension in their shoulders? You cannot wait until you feel confident to act confident. The feeling is the result of the action. You enter the room as the new character, and the mind eventually follows the body. This is where the spiritual discipline of the craft comes into play. You have to be willing to kill the old darling. In screenwriting, killing your darlings means removing scenes you love because they no longer serve the story. In your life, it means letting go of behaviors that give you a twisted sense of comfort. It feels safe to be the victim, because the victim is never responsible for the outcome. It feels safe to be the cynic, because the cynic is never disappointed. These are the crutches of a bad actor. To escape the typecast, you must be willing to confuse your audience. You must be willing to walk into your workplace or your home and deliver a performance that is totally out of sync with your history. When they expect you to apologize, you will remain silent. When they expect you to crumble, you will stand firm. There is a terrifying friction in this transition. You will feel like an imposter. You will feel like you are wearing a costume that does not fit. That is not a sign that you are failing. It is a sign that you are stretching. The old character is dead. The reviews of your past performances are irrelevant. The lights are resetting, and the cameras are rolling on a blank scene. You have the power to walk onto the mark and speak with a voice that no one has ever heard before. It requires only the courage to ignore the expectations of the crowd and the discipline to remain in character until the new role becomes the only reality you know. Chapter 4. 1. A Chapter 4. Next Chapter 4. R. Between to belief, internalizing the new role. You have finished the tableize, the missed probably again the states of what? You have finished the tableizing the new role. You have finished the tableizing the state of what? You have finished the tableizing the state is what? You have finished the tableizing the state is what? You have finished the tableize the state is what? You have finished the tableizing the state is what? You have finished the tableize the state is what? You have finished the tableize the state is what? You have finished the tableize the state is what? You have finished the tableize. You have finished the tableize the state is what? You have finished the tableize the state is what? You have finished the tableize the state is what? You have finished the tableize the state is what? You have finished the tableize the state is what? You have finished the tableize the state is what? You have finished the tableize the state is what? You have finished the tableize the state is what? You have finished the tableize the state is what? You walk onto the mark and the cameras are rolling on a blank scene. You have finished the table read. The lines are written and the motivations are clear. You have identified the typecast you intend to escape. Now comes the most dangerous phase of production. This is where the amateur separates from the professional. This is the rehearsal. This is where you apply the method. In the history of theater, there was a seismic shift when Konstantin Stanislavski argued that an actor should not merely imitate a character, but become them. Before this, acting was often a series of exaggerated gestures and vocal tricks. It was external. The method demands something far more rigorous. It demands internal truth. When you attempt to rewrite your own character overnight, you often fall into the trap of external mimicry. You buy new clothes, you change your haircut, you adopt a new vocabulary. These are costumes. They are props. If the internal state remains unchanged, the audience will spot the fraud immediately. The audience in this case is your own subconscious mind. You cannot fool it with a costume change. To internalize the new role, you must work from the inside out. Method acting relies on a technique called sense memory. The actor does not pretend to drink hot coffee. He recalls the specific sensation of heat against his palm, the smell of the roast, and the scalding touch on his tongue. He hallucinates the sensory experience until his body reacts as if it were real. You must apply this to your transformation. Do not vaguely tell yourself you are a confident person.
That is a script line without a performance. Instead, you must locate the sensory evidence of confidence. Recall a specific moment where you felt complete control. It might be a memory from childhood or a moment of professional success. Remember the weight of your feet on the floor. Remember the rhythm of your breath. Remember the absence of tension in your shoulders. You are not looking for the idea of the emotion. You are looking for the physics of it. Once you have isolated this physical state, you practice living in it. This is the concept of the magic if. You ask yourself a simple question. If I were this new character, how would I sit in this chair? How would I hold this cup? How would I listen to this conversation? You are not thinking about the result. You are focusing on the physical process. When you begin this practice, you will encounter a violent resistance. This is the friction of the old role fighting for survival. Your mind will scream that you are lying. It will tell you that you are an imposter. It will try to drag you back to the safety of the typecast because the typecast is familiar and efficient. The method actor knows that this feeling of strangeness is not a sign of failure. It is a sign of departure. You are leaving the known world. Of course, it feels artificial at first. Every new skill feels artificial until it is encoded into the nervous system. The pianist does not feel natural when first learning a chord progression. The hands feel clumsy and the rhythm is broken. It is only through repetition that the mechanical becomes the organic. You must remain in character even when the scene is boring. It is easy to play the hero during a crisis. It is difficult to play the hero while waiting in line at the grocery store or sitting in traffic. But these mundane moments are your rehearsals. If you drop character the moment the pressure is off, you break the continuity of the performance. The goal is to blur the line between the actor and the role until the distinction vanishes. There is a neurological basis for this. By consistently engaging the physical actions and thought patterns of the new character, you are rewiring the neural pathways in your brain. You are forging a new default mode network. Eventually, the exhaustion of the performance fades. You stop thinking about how to stand or how to speak. The affectations drop away because they are no longer required. The emotional memory becomes your current reality. You are no longer acting. You have successfully navigated the transition. You have become the role. The lights of the house are down. The curtain is up. There is no one left to give you direction. You must walk out onto the stage and trust the work you have done in the dark. The script is yours now. Chapter 5. Costume and Prop Design. You have done the internal work. You have sat in the dark of the theater and memorized your lines. You have felt the emotional core of this new person you intend to become. The method has taken root in your mind. But an actor cannot walk onto the stage naked. Even the most profound internal transformation struggles to survive if the external world contradicts it. This brings us to the tangible reality of the craft. We must discuss costume and prop design. It is a mistake to think that acting is entirely mental. The greatest performers know that the physical world is the scaffold upon which the psyche rests. When Sir Laurence Olivier played a role, he often started with the nose. He would change his physical appearance and let the internal reality follow the external change. You must apply this same rigor to your own life. Consider the wardrobe. In the theater, a costume is never accidental. It is a deliberate choice made to inform the audience and the actor about the reality of the character. When you slip into a tailored jacket, your posture shifts. When you wear heavy boots, your stride lengthens.
This is not magic. It is biology. It is psychology. Your brain constantly scans your body to determine who you are. If you are playing the role of a disciplined professional, but you spend your day in the tattered pajamas of your past self, you are creating cognitive dissonance. You are telling your brain two different stories. You must dress the part before you feel the part. If your new character is athletic, then the costume acquires the appropriate gear. If your new character is authoritative, then the costume acquires structure and fit. This is not about vanity, it is about signaling. You are signaling to your own nervous system that the scene has changed. Every time you catch your reflection in a mirror, you should see the new character looking back at you. That visual confirmation reinforces the script you have written. Beyond the body lies the stage itself. Look at the environment you inhabit every day. Your bedroom, your office, your car. These are not neutral spaces. They are set designs. They tell a story. A set designer places objects on stage to establish the context of the drama. A messy room communicates chaos and decline. A sterile room communicates coldness or precision. If your script demands a character who is focused and organized, but your set is cluttered with the debris of procrastination, then you are fighting a losing battle. You are trying to perform a tragedy on a set built for a farce. A method actor does not try to play a role of sophistication while standing in a pile of garbage. You must strike the set. Striking the set is a theatrical term for clearing the stage. You must look at your environment with the cold eye of a director. Identify the props that belong to the old character. The junk food in the pantry, the video game console that devours your time, the uncomfortable chair that ruins your posture. These are artifacts of a script you have chosen to burn. They are cues that trigger old habits. As long as they remain on your stage, they will tempt you to slip back into the old role. Remove them. Replace them with props that facilitate the new performance. If the new character is a writer, the desk must be prominent and the tools must be sharp. If the new character is a chef, the kitchen must be ordered and the knives must be honed. These objects are not just tools. They are physical anchors. When you pick up the pen or the weight or the instrument, you are engaging in a sensory experience that grounds the character in reality. The weight of the object in your hand convinces your subconscious mind that this is real. You are not pretending to be this person. You are doing the things this person does, using the tools this person uses. The texture of the handle and the sound of the device working and the smell of the environment all conspire to make the performance seamless. You cannot rewrite your character overnight if you wake up in the same museum of your past mistakes. You must curate your physical reality to match the script. Change the lighting. Change the furniture. Change the clothes on your back. When the curtain rises on your new life, the audience of the world and the critic in your own mind must see a coherent picture. The internal method provides the soul, but the costume and the props provide the skeleton. Build the structure strong enough to hold the weight of the person you are becoming. Chapter 6. Want to go. Chapter 6. Return by this. The smoke through yours all in the same evidence. Of some of these may follow, to remember the change the comment new property. The audience graded the signed is the older through the world, of comment in the moment. When you can find this, then no ones that uses there, to or provide the skilled. Most of the known that you need all to tell us what it's, the new properties so much. The rest of the audience that you can also have changed the properties way. The same, full and the same, was standard the mission. The universal setup that the internal method to re-come the comment together through. The three-person hearing is the world of any deprovincial of the enforced, the most of the audience of what there is enforced of the moment. The enjoy the smoke through the anything the person, as the most of the moment is the property of the anything you are. Rewriting the backstory. Every actor knows the most dangerous part of the script is the most dangerous part of the moment. If you can remember the script that they are building the backstory of the acceptable. Every actor knows the most dangerous part of the script is the most dangerous part of the backstory. Every actor knows the most dangerous part of the script is the most dangerous part of the backstory. Every actor knows the most dangerous part of the script is the most dangerous part of the backstory. Every actor knows the most dangerous part of the script is the most dangerous part of the backstory. Every actor knows the most dangerous part of the script is the most dangerous part of the backstory. Every actor knows the most dangerous part of the script is the most dangerous part of the backstory. Every actor knows the most dangerous part of the script is the most dangerous part of the backstory. Every actor knows the most dangerous part of the script is the most dangerous part of the backstory. Every actor knows the most dangerous part of the script is the most dangerous part of the backstory. Every actor knows the most dangerous part of the script is the most dangerous part of the backstory. Is the most dangerous part of the backstory. Every actor knows the most dangerous part of the script is the most dangerous part of the backstory. Every actor knows the most dangerous part of the script is the most dangerous part of the backstory. 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 Chapter 6. Rewriting the backstory. The Repards own spelf. Next upper, the most be make the all the essential mether view, as their inability to this. Thanks for watching, Mr. A Movement. Some of the greater, the present of 16, to follow at the past, the new parponence extends. The system again, the description for proposal. The description consider the both kilover and for falf, proposally acceptable to the most kilover. The most be make the all the essential mether you must be really required. The new parponence extends to acceptable to the most kilover. The most be make the all the essential mether you can fall. The new parponence extends to acceptable to the most kilover. The new parponence extend make even for building. The new parponence extend for this person. Part of the script is not the dialogue spoken in the spotlight. It is the exposition buried in the dark. It is the backstory. You have successfully navigated the table read. You have identified the typecast that held you back. You have even begun to design the costume and gather the props for this new character you intend to play. Yet there is a heaviness in your step that no amount of wardrobe tape or stage makeup can conceal. This is the weight of your history.
In the theater of the mind, the backstory is the invisible engine that drives every action on stage. It is the collection of memories, traumas, and victories that tells the character why they are doing what they are doing. If your character is confident, it is because their backstory contains a history of success. If your character is timid, it is because their script says they have been punished for speaking up in the past. The problem for most people is that they believe the backstory is written in stone. They view their past as a historical record that dictates their future limitations. The method actor views the past differently. To the master of the craft, the past is merely source material. It is footage in the editing room. It is clay on the sculpting table. The events themselves may be factual, but the narrative arc you build around them is entirely up to the director, and you are the director. Rewriting the backstory does not mean lying about what happened. It implies a shift in genre. Up until now, you may have been reading your life script as a tragedy. In a tragedy, every failure is a foreshadowing of doom. Every heartbreak is proof that you are unlovable. This is the script you have memorized. It is the reason you instinctively flinch when a new opportunity arises. You are staying in character. You are acting out the role of the victim because that is what your backstory justifies. To change the character overnight, you must ruthlessly edit the interpretation of these scenes. This is the core of the method. You take the raw data of your life and you assign it a new motivation. Consider the moment you lost that job or failed that exam. In the old script, that was the scene where the protagonist was defeated. In your new script, that scene is the inciting incident. It is the moment the hero was forced out of their comfort zone to find a greater destiny. The facts remain the same. The emotional resonance shifts entirely.
You are no longer playing a character defined by loss. You are playing a character defined by resilience. Method acting requires you to internalize this new emotional truth until it lives in your bones. When a great actor prepares for a role, they do not just memorize lines. They manufacture memories. They sit in a quiet room and vividly imagine the experiences that would make their character stand tall. They visualize the victories that justify the confidence they need to project. You must do the same. You must review the archives of your memory and perform a selective edit. Highlight the moments where you survived. Amplify the scenes where you showed courage, however small. If you lack a specific memory to support your new role, you must do what the actor does. You must use your imagination to fill in the emotional gaps. This is a psychological mechanism, not magic. Your brain struggles to differentiate between a vividly imagined event and a real one. By repeatedly rehearsing the emotional tone of success and competence, you provide your nervous system with a new baseline. You are giving yourself permission to act differently because you are building the evidence that you are a different person. The audience out there in the real world does not have access to your internal archives. They only see the performance you deliver today. If you walk into a room carrying the energy of a backstory filled with triumph and learning, they will believe you. More importantly, you will believe you. Do not let the scenes of yesterday direct the performance of today. The past is not a prison.
it is a library. You can leave the books that no longer serve you on the shelf. You can pull down the volumes that support the narrative of the person you have chosen to become. The lights are fading on the old version of you. The stage manager is calling places. You are about to step out from the wings.
Make sure the story you are telling yourself justifies the applause you are about to receive. The backstory is closed. The curtain is rising. Chapter 7. The Magic If. You have revised your history and stitched together a new costume. The backstory creates a logical foundation for the person you wish to become, and the wardrobe signals your intent to the outside world. Yet there is a terrifying gap that every actor knows well. It is the distance between the page and the performance. You might have the lines memorized and the motivation understood, but when you step into the light, you still feel like a fraud. You feel like a stranger in your own skin. The old character, with its familiar limps and stutters, is still wired into your nervous system. It fights for control. It wants to react to stress in the old way. It wants to shrink when challenged or lash out when hurt. This is the most dangerous phase of the production. This is where the amateur retreats to the safety of the dressing room. To cross this chasm, you need the most potent tool in the method actor's kit. You need the magic if. Konstantin Stanislavski understood that the human mind resists a direct command to believe a lie. If you tell yourself you are a courageous leader when you feel like a frightened child, your brain rejects the assertion. It creates cognitive dissonance. It whispers that you are lying. Stanislavski bypassed this mental defense with a simple shift in grammar. He did not ask his actors to believe the fiction was real. He asked them to consider a possibility. If this situation were real, what would I do? If I were truly the character I have written, how would I hold this glass of water? If I possessed the confidence I desire, how would I breathe right now? The power of this phrase lies in its lack of pressure. It is a hypothetical. It invites the imagination to play rather than commanding the ego to submit. When you ask yourself what you would do if you were already that ideal version of yourself, you bypass the internal censor. You trick your psychology into generating a new behavior without triggering the fear of being an imposter. Imagine you are walking into a negotiation. Your palms are sweating, and your heart creates a rhythm of panic against your ribs. The old script demands that you apologize for your existence. It demands that you take the first low offer just to escape the tension. This is the moment to deploy the magic if. You do not force yourself to stop shaking. Instead, you ask a specific question. If I were the most formidable negotiator in my industry, how would I sit in this chair? Perhaps you realize that such a person would lean back rather than hunch forward. You make that physical adjustment. Then you ask another question. If I were completely unbothered by silence, how would I listen to the other person? You realize you would maintain eye contact and breathe slowly through your nose. You make that adjustment too. This is method acting as a disciplined practice. It is not about pretending. It is about borrowing the physical and emotional reality of a potential future and layering it over the present moment. You are using the hypothesis to drive the physiology. Neurobiology tells us that the brain struggles to distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you authentically engage with the magic if, your body begins to respond as if the fiction were fact. Your cortisol levels drop. Your posture aligns. The tone of your voice drops an octave. You are no longer trying to be the character. You are simply reacting to the hypothetical circumstances you have created. This practice turns your daily life into a continuous rehearsal. Every interaction becomes a scene. The barista handing you a coffee offers a low-stakes opportunity to practice the warmth and charisma of your new role. The traffic jam on the highway offers a chance to practice the stoic patience of your new character. You ask yourself how the new version of you would handle the delay. Then you simply execute that behavior. The beauty of the magic if is that it functions as a bridge. You start on the side of pretense, where you are consciously manipulating your actions. But as you continue to ask the question and execute the answer, you eventually reach the other side. The conscious effort fades. The muscle memory takes over. You stop asking what you would do if you were that person, because you have simply become that person. You are no longer acting. The hypothetical has hardened into reality. The mask has fused with the face. You have successfully tricked your own nervous system into a new state of being. The fear of being a fraud evaporates because the evidence of your actions proves otherwise. You have not just rewritten the script, you have lived it. Now that the internal reality has shifted, we must turn our attention to the final element of the production. We must look at how the world responds when the protagonist finally changes. Chapter 8. Sense Memory and Emotional Recall. A website, the first 7-8. The first 23 will know that use me sense memory and emotional recall. Had a question of all these chances, information. We must look at how the world responds when the protagonist finally changes into a new state. The most memory responds. Chapter 8. Sense Memory and Emotional Recall. Show up in the next topic. The first 22 have involved long group inside. Chapter 8. Sense Memory and Emotional Recall. You must look at how the world responds when the protagonist finally changes into a new state, Chapter 8. Sense Memory and Emotional Recall. These Chapter 8 has simply 3 business for most of the most sense memory. We must look at how the world responds when the protagonist finally changes into a new state, Chapter 8. Sense Memory and Emotional Recall. Has that the internal reality has shifted. We must turn our attention to the final element of the production. Memory and Emotional Recall. You have successfully imagined the new being. You have successfully imagined the new being because the internal recall into a new state, into a new republical. Memory and Emotional Recall. You have successfully imagined the new being because the internal recall into a new state. As you have successfully imagined. You have successfully imagined the new being. As you have successfully imagined. You have successfully imagined the new being. As you have successfully imagined. 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 Because the evidence of your actions proves otherwise. You have not just rewritten successfully imagined the new scenario using the magic if. You have drafted the lines and designed the costume. Yet there remains a stiffness in your performance. You are still a purely intellectual actor. You understand the character of your ideal self, but you do not yet inhabit their skin. This is where the amateur stops and the virtuoso begins. This is the domain of sense memory and emotional recall. In the hallowed halls of the actor's studio, the great teachers emphasized that the body must believe the lie before the audience does. Sense memory is the technique of recalling a physical sensation from your past and replaying it in the present to trigger a genuine psychological state. It is not enough to pretend you are drinking hot coffee. You must recall the specific weight of the ceramic mug in your hand. You must recall the rising steam warming your nose. You must recall the exact searing heat on your tongue. When you focus intensely on these sensory details, your face reacts involuntarily. You do not try to look like you are burning your tongue. You actually feel the heat. Apply this rigor to the character you are rewriting overnight. Most people attempt to change their lives through sheer willpower or affirmations spoken into a mirror. They fail because they remain numb. They are reciting lines while their body remains locked in the posture of the old self. To rewrite your character, you must engage the nervous system. Let us look at the character of the confident executive, or the calm stoic you wish to become. Do not just think about confidence. Engage your sense memory. What is the tactile experience of this new version of you? How does the fabric of a high-quality suit feel against your shoulder blades compared to the slouching hoodie of your past? How does the floor feel beneath your feet when you walk with purpose? Is it a heavy, solid impact or a tentative shuffle? You must build a library of sensory triggers. If your new character is calm under pressure, you must locate a memory where you felt absolute serenity. Perhaps it was the sensation of cool water on your skin during a swim, or the smell of pine needles in a forest. When you step into a high-stakes meeting in your daily life, you do not force a smile. You recall the smell of the pine. You recall the temperature of the water. Your body responds to the sensory input by lowering your heart rate. You are not faking calm. You are physiologically inducing it through the discipline of focus. This leads us to emotional recall. This is the second pillar of the method. It requires you to treat your past not as a biography of trauma, but as a warehouse of raw materials. An actor playing a grieving king does not think about the fictional plot.
He thinks about the time his own dog died. He borrows that real emotion and pours it into the fictional container. You must do the same to break your typecast. If your new character is disciplined and relentless, but you currently feel lazy, you must find a moment in your timeline where you were unstoppable. It does not matter if that moment was 20 years ago during a high school championship. The memory exists. Locate the emotion of victory, isolate it, strip away the context of the high school game, and keep only the raw frequency of the triumph. Now, overlay that frequency onto your current task of answering emails or going to the gym. You are grafting the emotional reality of your greatest hits onto the script of your future. This is how you bridge the gap between fake it until you make it and actual transformation. The brain is a biological engine that struggles to distinguish between a vividly imagined sensory event and a real one. When you layer the heat of the coffee cup and the smell of the pine needles and the surge of that old victory into a single moment, you are giving your nervous system a new set of instructions. The old character you are leaving behind is simply a collection of habitual sensory loops. It is the muscle memory of slumping in a chair. It is the chemical addiction to anxiety when the phone rings. To kill that character, you must starve those senses and feed the new ones. This practice requires exhaustion. It is mental labor. It is why method actors often collapse after a scene. You are holding a complex construct in your mind and forcing your biology to align with it. But if you persist, the neurochemistry shifts. The phantom limb of your old self fades, and the new script becomes tactile. It becomes heavy. It becomes real. You stop acting the part of the successful person, and you simply react to the world through the sensory filter you have installed. You have moved from the table read to the dress rehearsal.
Now the lights are beginning to warm up. The audience is silent. The curtain is about to rise. Chapter 9. Rehearsal in the dark. The theater is empty and the doors are locked. The velvet seats are swallowed by the shadows, and the heavy curtains are drawn tight. This is the hour of solitude. You have spent time at the table read, analyzing the script. You have intellectually deconstructed your old typecast, and you have designed the costume of the person you intend to become. You have written a compelling backstory that justifies this new existence. But paper is not flesh. A script is not a performance. Now you must step onto the stage alone for the rehearsal in the dark. This is the most critical phase of the method. It is the bridge between the intellectual decision to change and the physical reality of being someone new. In the professional theater, this is often called working in the black. It is the practice that happens before the lights come up and before the critics arrive. It is done in the dark because the new character is fragile. It is not yet set into your bones. If you were to walk out into the bright lights of your social circle or your workplace right now, you would crumble under the weight of their expectations. They expect the old you. They are the audience waiting for the rerun of a show they have seen 1,000 times. You are not ready for them yet. You need a safe harbor to practice the physicality of this new identity. You must rehearse in the dark to build the muscle memory of a different life. This is where you apply the physical aspect of the method. Stanislavski taught that physical action leads to internal feeling. You do not wait to feel confident before you stand tall. You stand tall, and the feeling of confidence follows the posture. In the privacy of your own home, or the anonymity of a crowd of strangers, you begin to move as the character. Imagine you are alone in your kitchen. This is your stage. The script says your new character is disciplined and calm. How does that character pour a cup of coffee? The old you might have rushed it or spilled the grounds in a chaotic hurry. The new character moves with precision. You reach for the cup with intention. You pour the liquid with a steady hand. You are not just making coffee. You are rehearsing the internal rhythm of a disciplined person. You are teaching your nervous system what it feels like to possess this new temperament. It will feel artificial at first. You will feel like a fraud. This is known as the imposter syndrome, but in our context, it is simply the friction of breaking in new boots. Every actor feels silly during the first few rehearsals. You are pretending to be something you are not. That is the definition of the work. You must embrace the artificiality until it transforms into second nature. You are rewiring your brain through repetition. You are carving new grooves into the floorboards of your mind. Do not underestimate the power of these private moments. When you are alone in the car or walking down an empty hallway, you must commit fully to the role. Walk with the cadence of the person you wrote in your script. Speak to yourself in the mirror with the vocal tone of this new identity. If the character is charismatic, then smile at your reflection until the smile reaches your eyes. If the character is powerful, then occupy more space in the room, even if the room is empty. The dark is your friend because it offers suspension of judgment. No one is watching you fail. If you slip back into old habits for a moment, you simply reset and start the scene again. There are no consequences here. There is only the repetition of the craft. You are conditioning your body to accept this new reality as the truth. This is a spiritual practice in the secular sense of the word. You are summoning a spirit that does not yet exist and inviting it to inhabit your body. You are clearing out the clutter of your past traumas and your old reflexes to make room for a new occupant. It requires intense focus and an almost obsessive dedication to the details. You cannot break character just because the lights are off. In fact, that is when you must hold on to the character the tightest. Method acting is not about lying to others. It is about telling the truth to yourself so convincingly that the lie becomes the reality. When you rehearse in the dark, you are convincing your own subconscious that this change is real. You are proving to yourself that you are capable of this range. You are stretching the boundaries of your personality. Eventually, the movements will stop feeling like a performance. The posture will become your natural stance. The tone of voice will become your default setting. The discipline, or the courage, or the charisma you are pantomiming will settle into your cells. The rehearsal will end not because you stopped working, but because the character has taken over. You will no longer be acting. You will simply be. And when that happens, you will be ready to unlock the doors and let the audience in. You will be ready for opening night. Chapter 10. Breaking the Fourth Wall. In the traditional layout of a theater stage, their first three-partner base, the general partner. In the third stage, their works are working noun of a new plan. In the color of the stage will be reduced just being change, which will invested. In the traditional layout of a theater will be simply in follow. In the traditional layout of a theater will be reduced just being change to invest in the college of a theater. In the traditional layout of a theater, their work in find involute to and made more fourth walls. The fourth wall is invisible. It is the imaginary boundary at the front of the stage that separates the actor from the audience. Through this transparent pane, the audience observes the intimate details of the scene, but the actor must pretend the audience does not exist. The actor must maintain the illusion of solitude. To master the art of rewriting your character, you must eventually commit the ultimate theatrical transgression. You must break the fourth wall. Up until this point in our journey, we have focused on immersion. You have built a backstory and designed your costume. You have used sense memory to generate real tears and real laughter. You have engaged in the deep psychological work of the method actor to ensure your new persona feels authentic. But there is a distinct danger in method acting. It is possible to become so lost in the role that you forget you are in a play at all. You begin to believe that the scripted tragedy is your permanent reality. You mistake the stage props for immovable objects. You forget that the exits are marked. Breaking the fourth wall is the moment of lucid awareness. It is the instant you stop reciting your lines blindly and turn to face the reality of your situation. In a dramatic production, this is often used for comedic effect or to unsettle the viewer. In the theater of your mind, it serves a crucial regulatory function. It breaks the trance. Think of the last time you were caught in a loop of anger or anxiety. You were center stage, delivering a passionate monologue about how unfair your life is. You were fully committed to the character of the victim. You felt the heat of the lights and the weight of the injustice. That is the method working against you. To break the fourth wall in that moment is to mentally step out of the character frame. It is to look directly at the mechanism of your own psychology and acknowledge the performance. You admit to yourself that you are generating this emotion. You acknowledge that this anger is a line of dialogue you wrote for yourself based on an old script. By observing the scene from the outside while still standing in the center of it, you reclaim your authority. You are no longer just the actor trapped in the plot. You become the director observing the shot. This practice requires a specific kind of courage. Most people prefer the safety of the fourth wall. It is comfortable to pretend that the audience is not there. It is safer to pretend that our actions have no witnesses and that our internal drama is the total sum of existence. When you break the wall, you invite the gaze of the objective world. You acknowledge that your performance produces results and consequences. You stop acting for the sake of the feeling and start acting for the sake of the effect. Consider the stage lighting. When the fourth wall is intact, the bright lights blind you to the house. You cannot see the rows of seats beyond the footlights. You are in a bubble of light surrounded by darkness. Breaking the wall requires you to let your eyes adjust. You must peer through the glare of your own ego and see the context in which you are operating. This is where the spiritual practice of method acting matures into mastery. A novice method actor is possessed by the spirit of the character. They lose control. They might smash a chair because the character is angry. A master actor feels the anger of the character, but retains a sliver of consciousness that knows exactly where the chair must land to avoid injuring a co-star. That sliver of consciousness is the gap in the fourth wall. You must cultivate this dual consciousness. You must be fully invested in your new role as the confident and capable version of yourself, while simultaneously maintaining the director's eye. You must be able to deliver the line with passion, but also know when the scene is dragging. You must know when the audience has stopped listening. You must know when it is time to exit the stage. If you refuse to break the fourth wall, you risk becoming a caricature. You risk overacting. You might push your new persona so hard that it becomes brittle and fake. By acknowledging the artificial nature of the construction, you paradoxically make it more real. You admit that you are making an effort. You admit that you are trying. There is an honesty in that admission that resonates with the world around you. The audience acts as a mirror. When you acknowledge them, they acknowledge you. Feedback becomes possible. When you are sealed behind the fourth wall, you cannot hear the coughs or the shuffles or the applause. You are deaf to the environment. When you drop the barrier, you can adjust your performance in real time. If a tactic is not working, you change it. If a tone is landing poorly, you modulate it. You become responsive rather than reactive. This is the ultimate freedom of the actor. You are not bound by the stage directions written years ago. You are live. You are in the room. You are breathing the same air as the reality you wish to shape. Do not hide behind the invisible shield of your old identity. Step to the edge of the stage. Look the world in the eye. Speak your truth not as a recitation, but as a direct address. Break the wall and let the play begin for real. Chapter 11. Dealing with hecklers. You have done the work. You have analyzed the script and found the flaws in the narrative that held you captive for years. You have sat at the table read and spoken the new lines until they felt like your own thoughts. You have designed the costume and rewritten the backstory and engaged the sense memory to ground this new persona in physical reality. You are ready. You step out from the wings and into the glare of the spotlight. You deliver your opening line with the poise of a veteran lead actor. The scene is going perfectly. And then a voice rings out from the dark. It comes from the cheap seats. It is loud and abrasive and dripping with cynicism. It shouts that you are a fraud. It laughs at your new posture. It asks who you think you are trying to fool. This is the heckler. In the theater of your life,
Dealing with hecklers is the final and perhaps most difficult test of your commitment to the method. The heckler is not always an enemy. Often the heckler is a friend or a family member or a colleague who has known your old character for a decade. They have a copy of the old script. They know exactly when you are supposed to apologize or shrink or fly into a rage.
When you fail to deliver the expected cue, it jars them. It creates a dissonance in their own performance because your old character was a prop in their scene. By rewriting your role, you have inadvertently forced them to improvise. And most people hate to improvise. They shout at the stage because they want the old show back. They want the comfort of the rerun. The amateur actor hears the heckler and immediately breaks character. The amateur stops the scene. They drop the persona. They shield their eyes against the spotlight and look out into the dark to argue. They say, "I have changed." They say, "You must respect my new boundaries." They explain the process. They plead for validation. The moment you do this, the performance is ruined. The spell is broken. You have proven the heckler right by showing them that the character was fragile and that the mask could slip at the slightest provocation. You have returned to the old dynamic of seeking approval from the audience. The master of the method does something entirely different. The master practices what Stanislavski called public solitude. This is the ability to remain completely private and focused on the internal reality of the scene, even while being watched by 1,000 eyes. When the heckler shouts, the master actor does not flinch. They do not look into the dark. They deepen their concentration on the other actors and on the physical objects in the scene. They pour more energy into the current objective. They turn up the volume of their internal monologue so that it drowns out the noise from the seats. If the disruption is impossible to ignore, the master incorporates it into the reality of the scene without breaking the fourth wall. If someone laughs at your new discipline, you do not explain yourself. You treat that laughter as part of the atmosphere of the world you now inhabit. You react to it as the new character would react. Perhaps the new character is deaf to the opinions of others. Perhaps the new character finds such outbursts amusing rather than hurtful. I must understand that the heckler has no power over the script unless you hand it to them. They cannot storm the stage and physically force you to recite the old lines. They can only bait you into slipping back into the old habits. They are trying to trigger the muscle memory of your former self. This is where your rehearsal in the dark pays off. You have practiced the emotional recall of confidence and indifference. You have anchored these states to physical sensations. When the criticism comes, you trigger the anchor. You breathe. You feel the weight of the new costume on your shoulders. You remember the magic if. If I were this confident new person, how would I perceive this noise? I would perceive it as background static. The most powerful response to a heckler is a flawless performance. When you refuse to break character, you generate a palpable tension. The heckler expects a fight, but you give them art. You give them consistency. Eventually, the heckler runs out of material. Their shouts echo into a void because you are not receiving the signal. The audience around them begins to turn. The social pressure shifts. The silence of your integrity becomes louder than their noise. Do not try to convince the audience that you have changed. Do not hand out pamphlets explaining your new character arc. Simply play the role. Play it with such conviction and such absolute commitment to the present moment that the audience has no choice but to suspend their disbelief. The old character is dead. The script has been burned. The curtain is up.
Let them shout from the darkness, while you stand center stage and live the truth you have written for yourself. Chapter 12. Staying in Character. You have survived the table read, and you have designed the costume. You have even managed to hold your ground when the hecklers in the cheap seats tried to shout you down.
But now you face the most grueling part of the production. This is the long run. It is easy to be brilliant on opening night when the adrenaline is pumping and the spotlight feels fresh. It is much harder to deliver that same electric performance during a Tuesday matinee 3 months later when you are tired and the theater is half empty. This is where the amateur separates from the professional. This is the discipline of staying in character. The greatest danger to your new identity is not external criticism, but internal drift. The old character you played for years still lives in your muscle memory. It haunts the wings of the stage, waiting for a moment of weakness. It knows your habits better than you do. When you are exhausted or stressed or hungry, that old version of you waits for a missed cue to jump back into the spotlight. It wants to reclaim the lead role because that role is comfortable and familiar. It takes zero energy to be who you used to be. It takes immense caloric and psychological effort to be who you are becoming. To prevent this slide back into the typecast, you must treat your life as a form of total immersion, method acting. In the history of theater, the most legendary performances came from actors who refused to break character, even when the cameras stopped rolling. They lived as the role. They ate as the role. They slept as the role. You must apply this relentless standard to your own psychological rewrite. There is a common misconception that you can have an off-stage life. You believe you can play the confident entrepreneur or the disciplined athlete during the day, and then collapse into the insecure victim when you are alone in your room. This is a fatal error. In the theater of the brain, there is no backstage. There is no green room where you can take off the mask and relax. Every moment you spend reverting to your old patterns, you are strengthening the old neural pathways you are trying to starve. If you break character in private, you destroy the believability of the performance in public. The subconscious mind is always watching, and it is the only audience member that truly matters. If it sees you slipping out of character, it will stop believing in the script. You must maintain the posture and the voice and the thought processes of this new persona until the cognitive dissonance dissolves. You are engaging in a battle of attrition against your own biology. Every time you react to a spilled coffee or a traffic jam, you have a choice. The old character would react with anger or anxiety. The new character might react with patience or amusement. You must catch yourself in that split second before the reaction happens. You must force the new script to override the old reflex. This is not dishonesty. This is the manual reprogramming of a machine. There will be moments when the scene goes wrong. In the theater, props break and other actors skip lines. In life, you will lose money or face rejection or fall ill. The amateur breaks character and looks around in panic. The master actor improvises within the logic of the role. When disaster strikes, do not ask what you would do. Ask what the character would do. Filter the chaos through the lens of your new identity. If you are playing the role of a stoic leader, then a crisis is not a reason to panic. It is merely a plot point that allows you to demonstrate stoicism. By staying in character during the fires of adversity, you prove to your nervous system that this is not a game. Eventually, you reach a tipping point. Actors call this the crossover. The effort required to maintain the role drops to near zero. The accent becomes your natural voice. The costume feels like your own skin. The emotional recall needed to generate the right feelings becomes automatic. You are no longer acting. You have simply become. The script you wrote in the dark has become the daylight of your reality.
You forget you are playing a part, because the part has consumed the player. This is the ultimate victory of the method. You have stayed in character long enough that the character is the only thing that remains. The final bow. The curtain falls on the rehearsal and rises on your life. You have spent countless hours memorizing lines and adjusting your posture in the mirror. You have endured the discomfort of the table read and the anxiety of the first dress rehearsal. Now the lights are blindingly bright, and there is nowhere left to hide. This is the moment where method acting ceases to be a technique and simply becomes your existence. You do not need to look at the script, because the words are etched into your neural pathways. You do not need to think about your motivation, because it drives every breath you take. This transformation was never about magic or pretending to be a deity. It was always about the hard work of rewriting your habits and refusing to break character when the pressure mounted. The applause you hear is not from a crowd, but from the quiet satisfaction of your own mind. You have earned this standing ovation through discipline and repetition. Take your final bow as the old version of yourself and walk off the stage. When you step out of the theater doors, you are no longer acting. You are simply living.